Welcome in to the Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast. Thomas Miller in early May, getting ready to go down to Florida here in about a week to help Fred deliver the 2023 version of the Levels of Energy seminar. I was thinking, how could I state what my role is in this? As Fred said, it was basically behind the scenes to help him deliver the seminar. I guess you could say that I'm going to be Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson, but some of you might not connect with that. But I will say this, for those of you who have followed this along or who have listened to the entire series of this journey of my life, you can imagine that this is the first time. Now, I've been to seminars and I've helped Fred with videotaping and this kind of thing, but not to help him put the seminar on. It's a tremendous honor and privilege. Wow. Kind of sets the stage, too, for what we're going to talk about here. And that is, as I've been thinking back, I know that right now, where we are, this is being recorded in May of 2023. There is so much angst, and there are so many different decisions that we're having to make, and adjustments and uncertainties, and relationships are being affected, and all of the things that are being talked about in our Facebook group, that I get emails from people and listen to other commentary. I'm seeing it everywhere. And yet, it's for us to stay on our A game, to live our highest timeline, to not let the noise crowd out what we know fundamentally works. And that's probably the other comment that I've heard quite a bit. Oh, yeah, I need to get back to that. You know, it's the very thing that you need the most that we get so preoccupied it takes the back seat. So this is kind of a, let's get our compass realigned, and it's coming from a very personal application of this that has taken place over the last, as I'm recording this, 24 hours. And it was precipitated by a walk that I did around this lake that I love to go to and walk around the other day when I was feeling stuck. And I know we all get feeling stuck sometimes, right? Like things just aren't moving that well. And you think, well, what are you talking about? I mean, I'm doing 3 podcasts, absolutely love it. Robert Glasscock and I just released this horary course, which is a pinnacle. I am so proud of that course and so pleased to deliver that because it is such an important part of astrology and our course and our path of staying on our highest timeline. There's one of the best tools right there. Got the fun astrology thing is going really well. I mean, we've got the introductory course. We've got this course. I couldn't have put down more valuable information to help you walk your path than those 2 things. And I've got 2 books that I'm working on behind that and leaving, like I say, in a few days, really, to go to Florida to see my daughter. That'll be fun. And then going to Fred's seminar. That's going to be amazing. I'm living in this beautiful spot in the country that I still love. There had a big manifesting thing because I was almost, there's a paper mill not terribly far from here. And in the summer, it's not a problem. In the winter, it was a big problem. Well, they're shutting it down. In fact, it's basically gone now. The staff, they've just got a remnant staff, and it's basically out of the way. That was a big one because I was looking at, y'all going to hear a moving story again. But no, every time I check, it says just stay right here. And then I'm going to borrow an Amy Porterfield line that I saw in one of her little clips on Facebook the other day. I'm able to ring my own bell. I mean, I've got a sufficient self-generated income stream that is, I've got several different little sources of income and making it all work. These are all things that have come about because of the things that you've heard on these podcasts. All wishes fulfilled. All dreams, visions, things that I manifested, created in my mind, etc. So with all of that, you say, well, why are you feeling stuck? Well, because there's about an equal or longer list of things that haven't fulfilled. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to give that energy. But, and this is, some of this is just, hey, we want our lives to move forward, right? But I mean, there are some big things that haven't come about. I will give you one example. Selling Lord Jupiter is one. That's been a tough call because I love the van and I love to travel in it. But in the summers, I'm not going to leave. I'm in a beautiful spot, right? And the other thing is I don't want to be taking it on extra long trips. I just don't. I love my audio booth and my video setup for Sunday night level ups. I love the base that I've built here. And I've got to be protective of my heart. And it's not the easiest thing on my heart to be traveling in campgrounds. So all I've done, you heard the story several episodes back about having to get the Jeep out of that storage place. Well, when I got back, of course, Lord Jupiter is not in that storage place. You can count on that. And where it is right here in town, and people drive by it every day, and it's out there where you can see it, but it is in an area of storage. And it has a for sale sign. So I get an occasional call, and when I tell them the price, they, okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Well, I just had envisioned that somebody's going to drive by it, have been looking for that van, that model, and they're going to buy it. And that I've seen myself cleaning it up, and I've seen myself unloading everything and getting it all ready and giving them the big tour and showing them everything about it and all of that. I've seen all that. I've envisioned it. Van's still sitting there, hasn't fulfilled. Here's another one that's been there for a long time. Growing these podcasts, reaching more people, expanding even into the radio. I've been envisioning that for years. Podcast numbers are great, but they're about the same as they've been for quite a while. So those are just a couple of little examples off of that other list. Well, I went on a walk recently, and I took this with me. First thing I did was to ask if there was anything in the past, any karma, any current karma, anything I needed to clean up that was holding this back. Kind of exercising almost like from Fred's Clearing Entities book. I wanted to make sure there wasn't anything either external or internal that was preventing this. Any blocks? No. I'm doing this walking around the lake, so I'm in a really good spot, right? So no, nothing from the past, anything I need to clean up, anybody I've offended, anything that needs to be resolved. No. One little thing did come up around it, but I took care of that as part of my walk, so that was clear. So I kept going, and I said, well, okay, you're just going to have to show me some way, somehow, because I am at an impasse here. I am stuck. I don't know where to look or turn next. Well, I kept going. And just staying with it and just holding the space with it. I'm like, I'm not going to run my mind trying to go here and there, trying to figure this out. You're just going to have to either bring something to mind or show me a sign or a synchronicity or some kind of way, show me the next step. Well, it was on that walk, and maybe about 15 or 20 minutes later, and there the answer came, and it was just a prompt, just a small little prompt. Action. I heard action. Said, oh, so I need to take more action? Yes. So this isn't about woo-woo. This isn't about just dreaming it up and thinking about it and pondering it and all that. It's like, I need to do stuff. Is that the deal? Yes. You need to take more action. Well, then I got to thinking about it, and that's exactly parallel to my astrological chart. There's one part of it where the symbol of delays, and not maybe delays, but just methodical plugging, slogging along, slowly, methodically, growing, building, laying a great, big, long, solid foundation of things that are going to be there forever. Well, I would rather have that than a flash pan. So that's a good thing. And that's over the area in there of work. So you put those two together, and it is a long, slow grind build. And then the other message was, don't look at other people. Don't look at Fred and his success with the seminar. That's Fred's journey. That's not your journey. Fred has done other work. Fred has other tools, etc. So it was focused. It brought it back to me. Don't compare. And that's the point here, is that we often get off track of our path. Steve Forrest talks about this symbolism in the Elements series, the books that I did for him, where he says this is all about climbing the mountain, but you have to make sure that you're climbing the right mountain. Well, that's where the intuitive guidance comes first, so making sure that we are on the right path. And that's why I go down to that lake about 5 times a week, is to take a lap and make sure, just asking, am I doing the right things? Am I on the right path? I use my little muscle testing and intuitive awareness method combination to ask those questions, and those answers are always there. If you're not familiar with those two resources, Fred wrote a book called Intuitive Awareness Method. It's so short. It's only like 2 and something hours. And then we have 2 muscle testing videos on our Facebook group page, and they're pinned to the top. And one of them is actually Fred. But I like the ladies' video, I think, better. So there are 2 resources available for you there. We've had people say that they've tried both, and some say one works, one didn't, and then others say both worked. So you can avail yourself of any of that. So the next thing I did was to go in overdrive of the foundational manifesting stuff. I'm like, okay, if I'm going to take action, these are the first ones I'm going to take. So I made some flashcards, some little note cards. That's Napoleon Hill, right? Write it down, carry it with you, repeat it in the morning and in the evening. Then I made an audio recording of some of the things that I wanted. There's Catherine Ponder. See, I'm going back to the very foundations of this podcast. Then I wrote a script. I took each item and I wrote it out as though it had happened. And then I got some material from Neville Goddard and Florence Scovel Shinn. I wanted some things that were less familiar. Fred's work is very familiar. Bob Proctor's work is very familiar. I wanted something from a different skew. And there are plenty of resources there. I mean, Course of Miracles, you could, so many that you could read. Even some of the contemporary authors. Get a good Wayne Dyer book going. These are what your soul calls. Your soul will tell you what to read, what it needs. This was the food that I was feeding on. And this was really cool because when I was doing this, something actually floated up from that I'm going to be doing, my intention is to do for this, on this podcast, that you'll hear about when the time has come, and it will be something that I think will be really cool. At least it was an idea that surfaced up and I was excited about it, so that's usually when good things happen, right? So what are the takeaways here? Well, first of all, this is a time to dig in. The sailing seas might have been a little smoother in the past than they are now. This is when you have to have your rudder in the water. You have to have it firmly fixed on the destination. You have to know your course. You have to do a little extra work. And the reason I'm saying that is that I just have seen the broadness, and I've felt it myself many, many times. Oh, you guys don't know how many days I've had sitting up here on the side of this mountain just wondering, where is all this going? So I'm feeling it too, absolutely am. But then you just get refocused. This is what's in front of me. This is what I have to do today. This is the purpose that I know of for now, and I'm constantly asking, and if that is to be revised, then I'll be told when the time is right. But for right now, I'm going to do today's business, and then I will work on tomorrow's business. Just take it one day at a time. Stay the course. And then, of course, the second is getting back to those basics. I think there's a difference here. We need to constantly be fed. I know a lot of you are diligent about your path. You are intentional, and you digest a lot of information that feeds your soul, and that is great. And yet, sometimes we don't need the newest, shiniest. We need to apply what we already know, don't we? The basics are basics because they work. But we have to keep that in front of us. And it never hurts to just go back and do the old stuff, like creating a little audio on your phone, or writing a little script in your journal, or reading some old books, or making some note cards that you stick in your bathroom mirror, or write it up there with a dry marker. It won't hurt anything. Then you can go back about your business, but you've planted that seed. And then the other thing, of course, is that has probably a newer thing that we talk about a lot more now than back in the earlier episodes, is staying connected to Source. We truly are co-creators with something bigger than ourselves. The real power comes when we honor that Source, we tap into that Source, and we co-create with that Source. I'll tell you, this event with Fred comes to mind on that point. You know that Fred has been a lighthouse and a beacon for me. He's been a mentor. He's been my guide. Not only that, but we've also done audiobooks together. Well, that's our relationship. So here we are on the eve almost of this seminar event for 2023, and in a way, we are co-creating. He's relying on me to make sure that everything is in order, that he doesn't have to worry about anything except delivering an amazing event. It's a partnership. It's a co-effort. So we have to, first of all, make sure that our intentions are mutually aligned. Mine is to support his. The better I do that, the better outcome I'll have from this, and the better outcome he'll have from this. Well, that's in some kind of a small way our partnership with Source. It comes from mutual alignment, working toward the same goal, recognition of each role in the process, and doing our part. So when we create with Source, we have stuff to do, and then there's stuff that Source has to do. Just like this. There's stuff that I have to do. I better get about doing that, not worry about how he's doing, except to make sure that he has everything he needs. That's co-creating. Robert Glasscock and I just put this horary course together. He had his part, I had my part. He didn't get into my business, and I didn't get into his business. We each did our roles, and it worked beautifully. Stay connected to Source. And then another one, obviously, during these times is don't do things that will break that connection. And all I would say about this is you know what your best and highest connection with Source is. You know when that shows up. You know what kind of state that you are in when that happens. You know what you have to do, where you have to be, etc., for that to be at its peak. And you also probably know a few things that you could do to sever it or to set it back, maybe even just to shut it down. We've all been there. Don't do those things right now. Doctor, don't go in and say, "Doctor, it hurts to put my hand on the stove." Don't put your hand on the stove. And then, obviously, if that feeling or that connection, that plug-in is not what you know it can be, it's not at its optimum peak, get it back as fast as you can. Do whatever it takes. And then the last thing is take action. So let's just do some basics. For anything that you wanted to have show up in your life, what 3 steps could you do right now toward that thing? Even if you just spitballed this, put 3 things down and then put them in most important order from first to third. There's your action list, and I'd better let you go so that you can get busy. And I need to get back to my list, too. I hope this helps. Some good thoughts to just get us back to the basics during these difficult times. Thanks so much for listening. Sending you all kinds of love. And enjoy the journey. I'm Thomas Miller. See you next time.